What is going on, Danny Crew? For some of you, you might realize the screen looks a little bit different than normal. Well, as of some recent content I mentioned, I am a chess player, and I decided as a fun side project, I won't be stopping the Catan content, I promise you. But I do want to do a little bit of a speed run, showing some of my chess. Essentially, I have an account here that's practically at 0. 100 ELO, so it's not very high. I have a personal goal to get up to 2,000 ELO. I have been very close to that. I haven't been able to push 2,000 before, so wish me luck, guys. Enjoy Dandy playing chess. All right, we immediately got a game, and like I said, we are in the trenches of the 100s, so hopefully, as long as we don't get any cheaters, we hopefully don't have to have too much of a challenge here, but we'll kind of see. That's already a free... Yep, we're going to consolidate. All right, so a lot of this rating is really just about fundamentals. Playing well, not hanging pieces, getting your pieces out. All right, we're going to see. I would recommend if anybody wants to improve at chess, what you want to do is you want to just focus on playing very fundamentally good chess. Same with Catan, right? Like, don't neglect the fundamentals. We are going to get our pieces out. We're going to attack things, and we're just going to play the best that we can. So let's just bring... Actually, let's put our bishop here. We can attack. That way he can't castle because he'll lose his knight. Nicely done. Not a bad move. Let's bring this back here. By pulling the bishop back, we're stopping him from castling. And now we're going to start attacking things. That's a free pawn right now. Maybe he brings his bishop, defends it. He could also push it as well. That's actually not the world's worst move. That is also... And we also simultaneously protect our bishop. Exactly. We're going to take that. And we're going to pull the bishop back, protecting the pawn at the same time. And what we can also do is just castle. That's one way to handle the situation. His king is just unfortunately stuck. Unbelievably stuck. All right, this actually doesn't help him because what happens is if he castles, he loses his knight. Because then his... Yep, all right, so he sees it. So why don't we do this? Let's just take the pieces. We're going to liquidate into an endgame here. Yep, we'll protect the pawn, and we'll also get our bishop out. Not bad. We just tuck our king away. No issues here. No problems. Okay. Very interesting. So what we'll do is we'll try to trade off our bishops here. Yep. And now he could castle. We're going to stack our rooks. That is a free rook. My man. That's another free rook. He's getting very close to getting mated here. We're going to start pre-moving moves because we know these are good. We're going to attack the pawn here. Boom, boom, boom. And then this should almost be mate. Boom, boom. Game. All right, so first game is in. All right, we immediately jump up 75. I'm hoping that like we can move relatively quick, but I don't want to like completely rush these stages here. So let's go do another new game here. Not too bad. 75 points. The biggest challenge I say at the early levels is really the fact that a lot of people just make really big mistakes. So we're going to play something called the Jobava London, which is d4, knight c3, and then bishop f4. This is very similar to what they call the London system. Just a slight variation. But this is more or less the setup, getting these pieces out. There's a lot of fun tactical ways. It's a very sound opening as well. It was one of the first openings I learned. Now there's a very interesting trap here, which is to play the knight out to b5. The idea is that you are creating an attack here on this square with the bishop and the knight, and the best response is them to play the pawn out here to stop, and it actually is a very interesting line. So let's do it. Let's see if they can see that they have to play the pawn here. And it becomes very tactical very quickly. A lot of people might try to kick the knight thinking, hey, look at that. But then we actually just have the move right here. And if he doesn't see that's protected, we can even pre-move. Really, the only move he has here is to play the knight out, or the king out this way, and then what we can do is we can take the rook. He might not see that, so now we take the rook. And we are up. We are up material. And just like that, having a very simple opening, and you have some ways to just kind of know how to play it. Not too bad, guys. Not too bad. Now, we could try to get the knight out, and we could go back on this mission. I'd rather just keep developing. Okay. The queen has come out. We are going to simply stop this check by playing the pawn out. This is a very principled move. You know, these cheap threats, they allow us to develop, and they're kind of losing time. Interesting. As far as I can tell, this just wins a pawn by playing the move here. But if we take with the bishop, he takes, we take, he hits the knight. I think we can do that. I just think at this point we're pretty happy going into an endgame because we're already up a lot of material. We're up 7 points of material. So if he takes, we just take with the pawn. And it's also attacking his knight. Oh, okay. So what do we want to do here? I think I'd be pretty happy just developing here. And that way if he takes, we're going to take with check. Yeah, I mean, we're just playing simple chess. We want to get our pieces out. Our knight is kind of a little bit stuck, but that is what it is. We have a few different ideas, like potentially you could bring the queen out to b3 and then play knight here, because this would be protected. But at this stage in the game, guys, I'm just going to focus on simple moves. Yes, and this is actually the worst move, because now I can take with the pawn. When you take with the pawn, it's going to be hitting both the bishop and the knight. So this is what we call a fork. So you got to be very careful. His position is collapsing very quickly here. Woo! And that... Okay. He has some ideas here. Here. But it's actually not scary, because if the queen takes, then what we can do is we can bring the knight here. So we'll take the bishop. Yep. Queen check. And then what we do is we block exactly like we said here. And the idea is that we stop the check here, but we're also protecting the rook. All right. Now, what do we want to do? Well, probably hit the queen. Get the queen. This queen's being very pesky. We're also going to try to open some lines. We can bring the knight in. That's fine with me. Let's bring the knight back into the game. And we're hitting this pawn now. Not really good in terms of, you know, getting our king castled. That could certainly be better for us. Also, we had a potential opportunity. Let's see here. I'm not seeing any real threats. So what we can do is we can hit the queen here. He could take. That's not a problem with me, because then we can always bring this back. That is a free queen. We take those. Now, if he takes here, we're defending that many times. So we have no threats. Yes. We just take with the bishop. Simply put. It's looking pretty bad for my man. Now he's got to react. Yep. And then what we can almost do is pre-move checkmate here. As far as I can tell, that looks like it's just about game over. Because the rook is holding down this line. Yeah, that should be mate. All right, we're moving and grooving. Maybe we'll play to something like 500. We'll play for a little bit here. But yeah, this positioning using the Jobava London. Let's see if all right, they call it the accelerated London here, but it's the Jobava London. Yeah, this is a very common idea to play this move out here, and the best response is to do this. You do have a slight advantage for white, but as soon as you do anything else, the bar is going to shift dramatically. So we just went up about almost 3.5, 4 pawn advantage with one simple mistake at this level. So all fun at the fair. Let's keep going. I'm not really the best chess commentator, but I'm going to do my best to kind of tell you what I'm doing. D4, So we're going to try to get that same system or play knight out to c3. And we want to get knight c4. This is the same thing. A lot of people like to play this move as well. Or this move. Okay. It doesn't quite work here because if we do knight b5, what they can do is they can do bishop here. And now we don't quite get the same effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on very simple moves. We're going to solidify our center, and then we're going to try to get all our pieces out. Yep, this is common. If he takes, that's fine. It ruins our pawn structure. Ooh, what is that? We're going to put that there. Let's ask a question. If they take, it is what it is. So by playing this pawn here, we're more asking the bishop what do they want to do. If they retreat, it feels a little bit weakening. And probably at this point, we have ruined our pawns, but we're just going to keep it simple. This is a level of chess where we don't have to overcomplicate it. We'll get our rook to the center here, and we're going to try to maybe play for this move and try to bust open the center. That's a good move. That's a good move. The only issue is it just hangs a pawn because that pawn's not defended. So I take it back. It's a bad move. But the idea of controlling squares is actually a good move. So let's do this. Let's get a rook. It's an open file. That's fine with me. We have lost a pawn. What we'll do is we'll bring back, and I don't know if you'll see this, but we're hitting the bishop. So the bishop is actually loose, and there's a loose pawn here as well. So if he's not careful, he's going to lose his bishop. Yeah. I'm okay losing pawns if that means I'm going to be winning bishops. I'm perfectly okay with that. Whew. Got to be careful, my man. Now this pawn is under attack. I don't really see what that move's doing. As far as I can tell, it's not actually doing anything. There's no real attacks here. Everything's defended. So let's do this. Let's take another pawn, and now we're creating a pin. So if the knight moves, then we take the queen. Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just got to be careful. Play simple. I would recommend learning the principles of chess, which is to get your pieces out, try to control the center of the board. Yeah, a lot of wacky moves, but overall, I think we played it pretty well. All right, let's just keep going. All right, we're getting a lot of white pieces. That's pretty wild. We'll do the same thing, d4. Really like this opening. Hope you're doing amazing, by the way. It's fun. I like to do chess content. We're getting a very similar vibe. If he plays the knight out here, we're going to do that trick that we saw earlier with the knight b5. Very common. A lot of people play the knight out here. Sometimes they'll do things like this. Ooh, I like this option as well. A lot of people, they'll try to do the same trick where they'll play the knight out to b4 and try to attack this pawn. We can simply meet that with knight c1. But there's actually a very interesting line here, which is playing f3. Usually not a good move, but what we do is we hit this bishop here. It kind of forces the bishop back. It's a very interesting line for 300. I have to admit, I typically wouldn't play this against 300s. And then we push it one more time. And the idea is that if they're not careful, then what we do is we can play this pawn here, and the bishop's actually trapped. There's no squares it can move to. These are like good moves. Yeah, wow. So we push the pawn one more time. It hits the knight. Now the knight needs to move, and there's no real squares other than back here. Yep. It does open up potential to do something like this, and that is kind of scary. Hopefully we don't get any cheers. We also could have just taken the pawn. That's probably the better move. So if that move's available to us, we'll take that next time. All right, so what is he doing? He's trying to threaten this here. What we simply do is we just defend it with the rook, so that if he does take, we can take rook here, bishop here, and then we end up winning 2 pieces for the rook. It's usually a very good trade in terms of piece count. I'm not going to be going over super basics with you guys here. Hopefully you've seen tons of content that to kind of teach you those. Now we're asking a question tonight. We're hitting the knight and saying, what do you want to do? If you take this pawn, I'm going to win some material. So you want to go back. Very interesting decision there. What do we want to do? Let's go challenge this bishop. We could take, which would actually damage his pawns quite a bit. But I want to get rid of this pesky bishop. I want to ask questions. And I'd rather find a way to get rid of that bishop. I'll take with my queen here. Now he's got to do something with this piece, probably most likely to go here. Yep. Now this is a very common line, is we can develop while also protecting the square. So what we'll do is we'll put the knight here. The idea is if he takes, then we can take back with the knight. And all of a sudden, our knight is kind of getting into the game. We've got some very interesting tactics. Interesting. Okay. So this is very interesting. So let's do this. Let's take the bishop, and then we're going to move our knight in and try to attack the pawn. We've got some fun ideas here. It is slightly dangerous. Like, for instance, he does have this move here. He's playing very well. Very well for 300 here. So now we're attacking this pawn. He could. Whoa, he lashes out that way. We could take en passant, but then he activates his knight. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather go pick up the free pawn. Okay, he's asking questions too. I like it. So let's go back. And now what we're going to do is we're going to attack this pawn. He's made it a target. He's kind of given us some targets. We got a pawn here, which is a very nice pawn. Yes. Okay. So we have a fork. It's getting a little bit dangerous here. So if we jump in, we're hitting the queen, the rook, so we're going to win material that way, but he's also got this pawn avalanche that's happening, and I'm scared if I take here, he can jump in with his knight and put some pressure. So let's jump in first. I'm okay if he wants to push, because then I can take. Okay, he is doing that. So let's take once. This kind of helps him a little bit, but not incredibly much. And now we're setting up a very devious idea here. By moving the queen, we have a discovered check. So he has to move his queen. Now he could do something like rook here. Very interesting. Do we have any way to take advantage of this discovered check? We're going to just take the material. Pretty happy about that. He doesn't take it. We're going to take another piece. What he needed to do there is he needed to take with his king. To get out of check, but also to get rid of the piece here. Man is playing very risky. Now, wow. Well, we can actually, just take this here. We're not under threat because if the queen takes, then we can just take with the knight. Yep, that's perfect. And if he decides, for instance, he wants to attack our knight, we have a very nice spot here on f6, just to jump back. Well, we can just go there now while we're at it. No issues as far as I can tell. So we'll just go protect that knight, and then we can blast open with the good old h5. Pretty exciting move for us there. I have to give this player credit. I think they've played much better than I would expect for a 350. Now we're threatening all sorts of fun stuff here, guys. What do we got here? I mean, we've got a lot of moves. What we can do is we can bring the knight in and start attacking this pawn. Now, if he takes here, then we just simply take with the other knight. Yep. Now, the rook is protected. Yep. All right. A great game. Let's go check out the game review really quick. Hey, we played like at 950. I'll take it. Well, it's better than 300, according to, whatever system they have here. But as you can see, I mean, we pretty much held a very good advantage. We played pretty accurately there. And you can see how this kind of shows you the system of the best moves. This idea of F3 is actually considered a very good move. And then all of a sudden you've got G4 coming in, H4 coming in. But these are just good moves. Like, for them to respond with H5, I think is quite awesome. And then we can protect with C1 here. Overall, we just played a solid game. And we found a lot of kind of only good moves here. We even missed a winning opportunity. Wow. Yep, only move. So overall, good game, guys. Let's go back in. All right, we're cooking here. We are in the 300s, 350 range. Maybe, like I said, maybe we'll stop at 500. All right, we finally got black here. So we're going to play an opening called the Catan. Unnecessary at this level, but it's a good opening. I think they're going to take. A lot of players don't like tension. Ooh. And then we're going to play our knight out. A lot of players will take here. Now, the disadvantage of this is we're going to develop our bishop, which is quite nice. Get our bishop out and then push our pawn here. Very common in this system. And my biggest focus right now is to get my pieces out and get them to good squares. I'm not worried about crazy tactics right now. That's fine with me. Interesting. He's playing that out, huh? Well, we do just win a pawn here. Well, why don't we just take the winning the pawn? It's a pretty good deal. He'll probably take and try to ruin our pawn structure. Yep, that's fine with me. And the thing is okay, he's trading pieces, but if I'm winning pawns, then that means I'll get to an endgame in a winning position. So I'm completely okay if that's the way he wants to play it. Now let's do this. It's kind of an interesting move, but we're going to do rook G1. Sorry, rook G8. The idea is that if he moves his bishop, then we can actually take the pawn because it will be undefended. So like, for instance, if he goes something like bishop here or bishop here, well, now his pawn is very loose. Very, very loose. And even though we have kind of not great pawns here, what is he doing? I'm not entirely sure. So, wow. Well, we can just go back here. We can develop with tempo. So that's check. And what he actually has to do is he has to bring his knight back, which is kind of funny. He went on a he went on a mission there, but he had no real agenda. Okay. So let's get our knight out here. Let's get our knight developed. We have one piece that hasn't really made it to the final destination yet. And again, remember, if this bishop ever moves, just like I said, the pawn will be hanging. Boom. And I don't think like he could do something like this, but he just loses time. Yep. So we're just going to move our piece back. Now we've got another pawn in our back pocket. Interesting. That's not really attacking anything. So there's actually a very interesting pin here. So we'll take here. And the idea is he'll take, and then what we can do is we can play our bishop back. And if he ever tries to move his knight, like he has to do something like this to protect his knight, but it's not great. It's not great indeed. Okay, so this actually presents a few problems. One, we attacked the piece and he didn't defend it. But it's even worse than that, because not only after we take the piece, we're attacking the rooks at the same time. So this is very common, similar to Catan, is you got to look for the threats. And in this case, the man didn't see the threats and he's going to have to pay the price. All right, so we are needing to develop. Everything is defended. So let's get our knight into the game. And he's got nothing. He can't take here. If he pushes, we take. He can do this here, then we take it. Everything's looking very defended, very good. And we could probably even park the knight over here and start to cause some trouble. And I would highly recommend, usually one of the big aspects of chess is king safety. But in this case, well, you know, they wanted to kind of rush into an endgame, and usually you want to get your king out in the endgame. So this is one of those cases where I'm okay with the king being in the center of the board and not castled, because we kind of rushed to an endgame to where we didn't have as many pieces to worry about. Now they're really in the tank. They don't have a lot of good moves because every pawn move here doesn't work out. You could do something like this. You could even like move your king up. But the thing is, they're so far behind in material, it's very difficult to like find a good move here for them. And I think what I'll do next is probably just bring a rook to the center, or even move the king up and then try to connect my rooks. Unfortunately, they're spending some time. All right, my lad. So at this level, guys, it's really just about playing simple, good chess. It's no different than Catan. You play simple, good Catan. You make less mistakes than your opponent just by playing solid. You're going to win a lot more games that way. Unfortunately, we have people here that are quitting. What can I say? Resigns. I mean, it's a very brutal position. All right, let's keep going. We're getting closer and closer to the good old... Oh, we got a 500 now. We are cooking 500. Whoa, that is a move for sure. So we're going to focus on... Wow. We're going to focus on getting our pieces out. Immediately, I mean, I see something like this just attacking the queen. I suppose we could do that. Let's do this. Let's just get our pieces out. Also, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to put pressure on this piece here. I guess this guy's going here trying to attack this. We're going to put a stop to that move immediately. I see what you're doing. It's cute. It's very cute. So let's try to get our bishops out. We're going to drop this bishop back. And the idea is by pushing the bishop back, the queen's no longer hitting the g7 pawn. So when we bring this out, there might be actually some ways to even trap this queen if they're not careful. I'm also looking at certain moves, like for instance, bringing the knight this way. Ooh, it's getting risky for the queen here. Queen here. Losing squares for sure. So let's see here. Can we trap the queen? If the bishop comes out this way, let's jump in here. I think the queen's about to lose some squares here. Not a lot of options here. If the queen goes here, well, actually, it's really bad because unfortunately, we're putting pressure here and we're putting pressure on the queen. Now, for instance, the queen can come here, but then what we do? Ooh, it's going to be Heartbreak Hotel, I think. So now we're hitting the queen here. And look at this fork. The knight just hitting absolutely everything. So you got to be careful about bringing your queen out too early because it might be very susceptible to just getting absolutely annihilated. So we're going to go pick up. I'm not seeing any decisive threats here as far as I can tell. So we're going to go pick up the piece. You could bring the knight here and try to say, oh, I'm going to hit you with checkmate, but we can simply just take that. Or we can also even just bring the queen in. Screw it. So they might try to go for a very cheesy checkmate. I don't think it's going to work there, my friend. All right. So what else do we got here in our back pocket? If we bring this piece here, let's go hit the queen again. Might encourage this move. I'm okay with that. Now, he's trying to hit me with checkmate. But I don't think that's going to work because simply we can castle. And now this pawn is defended. What was it going to work anyways? Okay, that is a free queen. That we do take. Well, it's actually not free, but what it's going to do is we're going to help us solidify our position in the sense that we're already up a lot of material on this game. Yep, and then we'll take the knight, and what's going to happen is he takes with the pawn. We pick up the pawn with the bishop here. So here, they could do something very cheeky like that. It's a one-move threat, as we call it. We simply just put our rook here. Let's see if they do it. You know, that's one of the things as you get better with games is you have this predictive nature to try to know what your opponents are doing. So we're going to just trade down at this point. We're up material. We're very happy with our position. So for us, let's just trade. We don't have to complicate this. We're going to go pick up a pawn. And I don't see any issues with it. If they play something like the pawn here, then we simply just take it. So we're looking good. The knight is actually stuck. The knight can't go to any of these squares because of the pawns. So usually as a good sign, you don't want to put your knight on the side of the board. Tends to be a very weak move, just because you're limiting the ability of squares you can go to. And very simply, we're just making simple moves. Of course, it's simple because, you know, I've played tons and tons of games of chess, and we've got it auto resign. 500, look at that. Be very curious to know what is your chess rating, how long you've been playing. Look at this, 413. We are moving. And that's all she wrote. All right, let's keep going here. This is a 24-point win for us. We're going to play that same system I talked about earlier. Remember, we play the knight out this way. We're going to try to get the bishop out to f4. Shazam. Very common. A lot of players will do this. They'll do this. Let's go. Let's do this. Actually, this is a very interesting move. a3. And the idea of playing something like a3 is to stop your opponent's plans. By playing a3, it stops the bishop from going here. So this is a very common strategy in chess called prophylactics. All right, now we just simply move our pawn up. We're going to defend the pawn there. I'm not even worrying about tactics right now, guys. I'm literally just focused on getting my pieces out. This is weird. Whatever he's doing here is very strange to me because now he's killing his own bishop. Like this is usually a very bad move. It tends to be very weakening. So what if I bring my knight in here now and attack this pawn? He pushes, we takes. All right, so there's some interesting ideas there for him. So let's continue. He is kind of threatening this. Yes. Ooh, actually, we might have made a mistake. In fact, I think we made a mistake. Wow, good job, Drew. All right. Actually, I take it back. We didn't. As far as I can tell. Because what happens is we're going to attack here. So, danger levels. Oh, so because they didn't get their pieces out, I was able to create a counter threat, which was attacking the queen. They didn't see it. So now we take the queen. We still have a problem here, but we do have a free pawn. Now the position collapses if he does something like this. Yes, so the bishop is under attack. We'll pull the bishop back. It is still, we got to be careful though. This is fine. Okay. It looked kind of bad for a second. All right, that's another pawn. The position is what we call collapsing. He does have an attack here. That's fine with me. We will boot this out. They're getting cutesy. I'll give them that. This is dangerous, though, because now we have actually some very interesting ideas here. because now if the bishop moves, look what is x-raying down the middle of the board. It's the queen. I actually think we misplayed the opening a little bit. I think we just got a little bit too comfortable, which is something you have to be careful about. All right, here you go. Tactics. Check. Because now the queen is hitting the king and we pick up the piece at the same time. King only has one move, which is here. Now, can we take advantage of that? Oh, well, now we get checkmate. Shazam. Very, very good from the player. I think at first I thought, yeah, we were always doing okay there. Let me go look at the analysis real quick, guys. Yeah, we don't have the fun stuff here. But it doesn't seem like at any point we were in a lot of danger, and we did find the correct move, which was more or less bishop g5. And the problem is here is they're hitting our bishop, and it almost looks like we're going to either lose the bishop here, or they just push the pawn forward, attacking two pieces at the same time. But because we have something, as Gotham Chess would say, danger levels, we can just attack. We can attack the queen, and it just kind of changes the who has to respond to who here. So by having this move of moving the bishop and attacking the queen, we actually kind of save ourselves there. So very interesting decision, but I think they just got a little bit too cute, and as soon as they just were falling asleep, they hung their queen. Not a good idea, and everything else started to fall apart very quickly for them. Especially right here. Yeah, and it just lights out at this point. All right, we're almost at 500. Wow, that was quick. All right, let's go. I think we just got a few more games. All right, we're going to go back to what we call the Catan. Honestly, I think you guys don't have to worry too much about having specialized openings or anything. I think it's better to have good principled play. We'll develop our knight. If they want to take it, we can take back with the pawn here. Very common issue with beginners, I feel like, is they don't know how to handle tension very well. A lot of times for them, whoa. Okay, we'll develop with what we call tempo. So the idea is the queen comes out, everything's defended, and we can hit the queen. So now what we're doing is we're developing by having them answer a question at the same time. It's one of the best ways to develop here. So now the queen has to do something. This is a very common issue a lot of times when you bring your queen out too early, is you can start to hit the queen multiple times, right? We can hit the queen now with the bishop, and we're getting our bishop out at the same time. So this is called developing with tempo. Interesting. Okay, what we'll do is we will defend this pawn, and I don't see any real threats. We can just, if they take there, that's fine. They could stack, do something like that, but then we just simply bring the queen out, or even just bring the rook in. Interesting. Okay. He attacks our bishop. He could do it again if he wants. It's not a very good play. Okay, so let's bring our bishop out here. What we want to be careful about is he might want to jump his knight here and try to attack this knight. So by pushing the bishop here, getting our pieces out, we are stopping the knight from entering this square. I don't see any, I'm not worried too much about tactics. I just want to get my pieces out. So we've accomplished that, and then we castle. Now originally this knight was being what we call pinned, which is it couldn't move because of the king being here. But now that the king is moved, we can take some liberties and move the knight. But look at his pieces. The bishop still needs multiple moves to get out. This is not good for him. Okay, that's not a bad move. Let's do this. Let's ask this bishop what he wants to do. He takes. Okay. Now he could put his bishop here if he wants. He can even... Yeah. Okay, that's also not too bad. We can start to harass some pieces here. For instance, hit the queen. And then what the thing is this pawn is probably going to be hanging because the queen has to move from the pawn unless it moves here. That it does. Okay. So let's do this. Oh, he's hitting 2 pieces. All right, so let's go here. We're going to defend this pawn and defend this pawn. All right, now that we are all developed, we got our pieces out, I think we need to start thinking about being a little bit more proactive, doing things. Okay. So, let's do let's take queens here. Okay. I'm actually okay with this because simply what we can do is we can move our piece here, defend this pawn, and then now this pawn is hanging. And now we could potentially go get this pawn and get this pawn at the same time. Yep, we're going to do that. That pawn is donezo. Now this pawn is hanging. Very difficult to defend. Like, you can't play the rook here or else we just take it with the bishop. So I think that pawn is a goner. We're going to take there. These bishops are vicious. Now what we can do is we can take here and then jump our knight and attack this pawn. Okay, so he attacks us here. Simply, let's just move back. This is kind of like a nice little tuck away, right? We're controlling all these squares. It's kind of nicely defended. I suppose if he wants to jump in, that's fine with me. And now, yep, he's on a rampage here. There's a very devious trick here, which is we're going to move the bishop here, and then we can go here. And the idea is that the rook will be trapped because the rook doesn't have any squares. So if we attack the rook, it can't move, just like that. And nothing you can do. You can jump in front of it, but I'll take that as well. That's a free piece. So we're going to go pick up a rook in the process. Life's looking good, guys. Let me know at home if you're enjoying the chess content. I might put a little bit of music to it. Make it just kind of a chill vibe thing. And I don't know if I would do lessons on it. Like, yeah, you know, here's the opening theory. I feel like there's so many videos on chess principles and chess openings that not really my style. Yeah, this person's position is really taking a beating here. Though we're going to get a nice little 40-point win here. Yeah, so we'll just go take the rook. That's fine with me. Now, a good little note here is you usually want to have... Let's see here. Let's go push the pawn. We'll go attack this. That's fine with me. I guess, interesting. He does get a little bit of counterplay, but it's not too much. He can jump in here. If he jumps here, then he loses his knight. Will he see it, is the question. He's actually got a very interesting tactic here. Well, actually, no, he can't jump there. I don't see that actually doing anything, because we can just knock the knight away. So we can now just go attack the knight, as far as I can tell. Looks pretty good for me. Actually, no, that's not going to do anything either. So let's go attack the knight this way. Let's go ask some questions. I suppose he could do something like this. But he's really just grasping for straws there. All right. And ultimately what I would like to do at this point is once I kind of get these rooks situated is I'll be just pushing the pawn. Usually when you have a pawn advantage like we do, or piece advantage, you want to try to get to an in-game situation where you trade your pieces off, you go protect the pawn all the way down the board until it becomes another queen, and then you end the game that way. But not too bad. All right. Hopefully we can do one more game to get the 500. Nice playing with you there, Tomatius from Indonesia. All right, 21. We're getting close. We're 2 wins here. All right. We're going to play that Caro Kann. Very likely a lot of players take here. This one is a madman. So now he takes here. We can take with the queen. He's a madman, they say. So this is interesting. This is kind of a gambit where if I take the pawn here, he develops his bishop and he gets a very, you know, what they call initiative. So should we do it? It's kind of scary. But we're going to trust that, you know, this player, wow. So let's take here. We're up a pawn. Let's get our pieces out. This is kind of critical to get the pieces out as quickly as we can. We don't want to fall behind in development. Let me think here. So let's go protect this knight. Yeah, perfect. I would try not to ruin my pawn structure. It's important that if I do have an advantage, like for instance, if we take the knight here, then this actually destroys his pawns in front of his king, which could actually be very good for us. So we're going to do that. So now when he takes the pawn here, he's down a pawn and he has very big weaknesses. And one of the good principles in chess is that you want to attack weaknesses. So I'm looking at this pawn right here and I'm asking, how can we attack it? So if I have a knight, let's say here on g5, I could potentially go and take that piece. It's not so simple. I'd have to make some fun knight moves there. Let's get our bishop out here. Let's just develop here. This does offer some chances for him to move his knight and attack us, which could be, you know, not really great for us. I don't know what he's doing there because he can't really attack us. So we're just going to castle. So now what we could do is we could play our bishop here. Yep, we saw this. And we're simply just going to move our bishop back. We could move it to something like d6, which you could argue is a little bit more active, but I'm pretty happy with this here. I'm seeing this square for my knight. Very nice. Look at this. Well, this doesn't really bother me, because if he takes, then we can just take here. But what I can do is jump here. Let me think. He's playing it well. So let's do this. Let's actually move one of our rooks so that when he takes and takes, we have this open file here. So we're kind of calculating in advance. This guy he wants to push his pawns. So if he takes here and I take back, now this B file will be completely open for our rook, which I think is pretty nice. And I'm also seeing this jump here. There's a lot of interesting ideas there. Hitting the rook, hitting the bishop, and like, not quite sure what we're going to do with it, but we're going to find something. I mean, it's just a matter of time. We are up a pawn, so if we find ways to trade pieces, I'm genuinely happy with that. But they're spending a lot of time. Yep. And just like I said, now this file is completely open for us. And it's not so simple. Like, okay. So let's go attack this piece here. This does two things. It allows us to attack the knight. This is fine. Now we actually connect our pawns, which I quite like that. And now this knight's kind of in a weird situation. He can't go to this square. He can't go to this square. And he can only go to this square. Yep. Now he's also kind of square locked here. So let's connect our rook. So now we control. This knight can't really go anywhere. And what we can do is we can bring our bishop here, attack the knight again. Interesting. What are you doing there, mate? Let's go attack the knight. We're going to trade pieces. Now, we have to be very careful here, Because if we go here, takes check, we don't want to get back ranked. So just to keep it simple, let's make some room for our king. Let's make sure that there's no silliness. We're not in no rush. We have such a good position. Okay, this guy wants to trade. I'm going to trade on my terms because I like the fact that his pawns are disconnected. And simply next we have the move Rook B2. And that should be pretty decisive. Oh, like he can do something like this. It is allowing a little bit of counterplay, but not too much. He does get this passed pawn. So do we. Like if you go something like this, no problem. This is why we push this pawn to g6, because now we give room to the king. And then we push. Push. He's got to be very careful here. Let me think. Okay, that was nicely done. So he has stopped the threat. So let's go pick up some other pawns. So if he takes this pawn, we'll take this pawn, then we can take this pawn with check. Yep. Yep. We have a check here. Okay, so now we're going to go into the end game here. All right. It's kind of like man versus man here, man versus wild. We're going to get our pieces out. That's fine with me. He can do whatever he wants here. If he wants to go take this pawn, we're just going to push this pawn. Yep. 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 Now it's a queen. Okay. Now I'm going to teach you a technique called the ladder mate, which is where you get two queens, or let's say like a rook and a queen. And you just kind of sidestep them right next to each other. And it's forcing the king over and over. And the thing is, he's got one move here, which is here, and then we just checkmate with the rook. Oh, we're one win away. Okay, one more game. We're going to get to our 500 goal, and then we're going to wrap it up from there, folks. Let's do it. Okay. Good old trusty Catan. What in the God's name is this? So let's go hit the queen. Remember, we talked about this. The queen comes out early. We're going to harass it. And harass it we will. Yep. He can try to throw in something like this, but we're going to simply just put our pawn out here. Let's go just play the knight this here to stop any jumps. We're going to play just kind of slightly defensive. We also have this idea of very interesting d5, excuse me. The idea is we're just going to try to chip away at the center already. Bam. Now, this is a bad move because look at, even though he has connected pawns, look at his bishop. Where's his bishop going? Just kind of completely stuck. And this is a symptom of when you have bad opening principles, you're going to make bad decisions like this. So immediately we're controlling the center. We're getting good piece development. He's got knights on the rim, which is known as dim. He's got his bishop. His pieces are already stuck here. Huh. The question is, if he takes, we can also just push, which I think offers a very... The interesting thing about pushing here is that it really seals in this bishop, right? We take space, we attack the knight, which has to go back, and really has no good squares. And it's getting very close here to trapping this queen. Like now the queen is forced to go here. More or less. Now I'm thinking, is push here, trap the queen. Now, here's what they might do if you get into the mind of a new player. They might say, okay, this bishop's annoying, let's kick it. So if we push here, he tries to kick it, and then we push one more square. But then what he can do is he can actually retreat his queen, which doesn't feel like it got much accomplished here. So let's keep developing our pieces. Let's not complicate this. He could kick the piece away here. I don't think it's a very good move, though. All right, he's got a tough decision here. His position, we're kind of what we call squeezing the position little by little here. All right, what do we want to do? Looks like he's going to try to castle over here. Is there any way to take advantage of that fact? Huh. Let's not overcomplicate this right now. Wow, actually, you know what? Let's play for a trick. We're going to overcomplicate it. Let's go see if we can go trap the queen. If he's keen to castle, he might not see the threat here, which is simply push the pawn here. And it looks like we get what we want. As far as I can tell, if we push the pawn, all these pieces are defended, and I don't see where the queen goes. He can take here. That's fine. We take. He can push, but then we'll just also take. So very quickly, as you can tell, we've been successful in trapping the queen. All the squares are being controlled by our pieces and pawns. And this is a symptom of when you bring your queen out way too early. We can attack it, we can harass it, we can come up with these little ideas. And this little move, yep, this is fine with me. We take. And as far as I can tell, it's still the same situation. Now you've just given up the knight, though. Like, you can't take the pawn here, this square, this square, this square, this square. So you actually have to take the bishop. It's probably the most high value move in the position for him. He's, you know, if you're going to lose a piece, you might as well go get some kind of value for it. But now this also run into some issues too. Oh, not looking good for our friend here. Okay, so we gave up the knight. Unnecessary. But I think they're just panicking at this point. They're losing on time. Yep. So now we take. And now if he castles, there's going to be a fork here. Simply just jump in here. And then we're going to be hitting both of the rooks. So see if he falls for it. Make a move, man. All right. So he's playing that move there. Let's just simply reinforce the pawn. If he castles, he's going to get absolutely cheesed. Okay, that's another piece. I think he's just desperadoing right now. Yeah. There you go. We got to 500. Not too bad, not too shabby. I think it took us a little bit of time, about an hour and change, but it is what it is. No big deal. Cool. Yeah, I mean, that was just a very simple game. We didn't have to overcomplicate that very much. And I guess what I'll try to do in the future, guys, is to get better about showing my thought process a little bit more clear. I understand that I've played some of these games tons of times, and it really comes from a position of playing principally. I say this about Catan, and I feel the same way about chess. It is about following good principles that you know will get you in a favorable position more often than not. I try not to break them unless I know when to do that. But I'm also probably not the best person to tell you when to do that because I'm also not a grandmaster or anything. I'm just simply a guy that's enthusiastic about the game. But hopefully that was helpful to some of you guys, and I'm really looking forward to hearing some of the responses. I know some people in the Catan space might not like this. It is simply a side hustle, a side quest for us here on the channel. You'll get it, okay? All right, guys. Really appreciate it. 500. Let's see if we can keep going. I think we're going to get a little bit more challenges once we get up to, like, I'd say once we get up to like the 11 to 1200 range, that's where usually a lot more tactically tricky situations can arise and mistakes can happen, even for my part. So let's just see what happens. I'm looking forward to the journey. Hopefully we can get to 2000 in a decent amount of time. Might take some trial and error there, but appreciate y'all. This is Danny Drew playing a little bit of chess for you. Y'all take care. Thanks.